Problem 9. Actually, again, on these ones, I will give you the answers to 9, 10, 11, and 12, so you have them. 9 was x equals 0 and x equals 3. 10 is x equals negative 0.23 and x equals negative 1.44. 11 is 7 feet. 12 is 1.68 seconds. And 13 is 0.44 seconds. And again, please do not just write down the answers and think, yep, I'm done. Make sure you have work that goes with it. All right, number 9, I'm going to either solve by factoring or the quadratic formula, but in order to do that, it does not equal 0, so we're going to first of all subtract 6x from both sides. And if I keep this in standard form, it will be 2x squared minus 6x equals 0. Okay, and then from here, I'm going to do factoring, but I will do the quadratic formula in just a minute, so fast forward if you need me to. And then from here, I'm going to do GCF. I notice that 2 will go into both of those and x. And so start my parentheses, divide both by 2x. This will give me x minus 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, and then from here, using the zero product property, I will get x equals 0 and x equals 3. Right? If you prefer to use the quadratic formula, we have 2x squared minus 6x equals 0. We are going to get a equals 2, b equals negative 6, and c is 0. So we're going to get x equals the opposite of b, which will be 6, plus or minus the square root. B squared, negative 6 times itself is a positive 36, so again, make sure your answer is positive right there, minus 4 times your a value times your c value. All over 2 times a, 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so we're going to have 6 plus or minus. And then if we do the square root of 36 minus 4 times 2 times 0, we will get 6. So we're going to divide that by 4. So 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And then 6 minus 6 is 0. And 0 divided by 4 is 0. Okay, number 10, 3x squared plus 5x plus 1 equals 0. It already equals 0. It's already in standard form. I would suggest quadratic formula on this one because it will not factor. So we'll get a equals 3, b equals 5, c equals 1. We're ready to use the formula. X equals the opposite of b will be negative 5, plus or minus square root. B squared, 5 squared is 25, minus 4 times your a times your c, all over 2 times your a value, so 2 times 3 is 6. And so from here we're going to get negative 5 plus or minus. If you type this square root into your calculator, you will get 3.61, and then we're going to divide by 6. So negative 5 plus 3.161 is negative 1.39. We're going to divide by 6, and when we do that, we're going to get negative 0.23. And then we're going to do negative 5 minus 3.61. That will give us negative 8.61 divided by 6, and that gives us negative 1.44. Okay, number 11, we have some story problems. Yay. Acme Pools is building a rectangular wading pool with an area of 70 feet squared. Keyword area right here. The formula for the area of the pool is a equals x squared plus 3x, where x is the length of the pool. What should be the length of the pool? So they're asking me for what should the x be. So first thing, we've got this formula. They told me that the area was 70, so they told me that the a was 70. So we now have an equation. We have 70 equals x squared plus 3x, all right? And using quadratic formula or factoring, we know that it needs to equal 0, so I'm going to subtract 70 from both sides. So I'm going to get 0 equals, we're going to write this in standard form, so it's going to be x squared plus 3x minus 70 equals 0. Whoop, we've already equaled 0, sorry. I notice that this factors quite nicely, so I'm going to do factoring, but again, I'll do the quadratic formula as well. So I have x, I'm looking for negative 70. I know that 10 times negative 7 will equal negative 70 and add to give me 3. So it's going to be plus 10 minus 7. And then using the zero product property, I get x equals negative 10 and x equals positive 7. If I'm looking for the length of the pool, we can't have a negative length, so my length must be 7, and the units would be 7 feet. Okay, if I would prefer to do the quadratic formula on this one, my a would be 1, my b is 3, my c is negative 70, so setting it up, I'm going to get x equals the opposite of b, would be negative 3 plus or minus square root, b squared, 3 squared is 9, minus 4 times the a value times the c value, all over 2 times the a, which would be 2. And then working that out, if I find out what this square root is, that square root is 17. So I'm going to get negative 3 plus or minus 17 over 2. So negative 3 plus 17 would be 14 divided by 2, which is 7. And then negative 3 minus 17 would be negative 20 divided by 2, which is negative 10. Again, we can't have a negative, so 7 feet is my answer. Okay, number 12. An acorn falls 45 feet from the top of a tree. The height h of the acorn at time t is modeled by this equation. How long will the acorn take to hit the ground? Well, hitting the ground would mean we have a height of 0. So in this formula, we're going to put 0 in for our height. So our equation is going to be 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 45. Okay, and again, I'm going to solve using square roots, but I will also in a minute do the quadratic formula for those people that prefer that. Square roots, we do not want it to equal 0, so I'm going to get rid of the 45. So I'm going to get negative 45 equals negative 16t squared. I'll divide both sides by negative 16. And if I do that, I get 2.81. And then to get rid of the square, we will square root both sides. And if I square root that, I will get 1.68. And it says how long? That would be how many seconds? So we'll put 1.68 seconds. All right, if you preferred the quadratic formula, we'd have a equals negative 16. B, there is no x or t term, so b would be 0. And then c would be 45. So instead of x equals, I'm going to actually put t equals this time. T equals the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root. B squared would be 0, minus 4 times the a times the c, all over 2 times the a, so 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. So if I type the square root into my calculator, I'll get 0 plus or minus 53.67 divided by negative 32. So positive 53.67 divided by negative 32 is negative 1.68, and negative 53.67 divided by negative 32 is positive 1.68. So I would choose the positive answer on this one, and that's what I would get. Okay, number 13, last one. A falcon dives toward a pigeon on the ground. Key thing, on the ground. The height h of the falcon at time t is modeled by the equation. Estimate the time the pigeon has to escape. So we want to make sure that the pigeon escapes before the falcon hits the ground. So the height will be 0 again. So we're going to get 0 equals negative 16 squared minus 220t plus 100. I would definitely suggest, since we have so many big numbers in this one, just use the quadratic formula. So get a equals negative 16, b equals negative 220, and c equals 100. So setting this up, we're going to get t equals the opposite of b, so get positive 220 plus or minus the square root. If I take negative 220 and square it, I get 48,400, and that is a positive answer, minus 4 times the a times the c, and it's going to be all over 2 times the a value. 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. Okay, if we type this into our calculator and use the square root button, we'll get 220 plus or minus 234.09 all over negative 32. So if I do 220 plus 234.09, I get 454.09 over negative 32. That gives me negative 14.19. And then if I do 220 minus 234.09, I get negative 14.09 divided by negative 32. That gives me 0.44. Well, we can't have a negative time, so that will be gone. So the pigeon has 0.44 seconds, so not even a second. The pigeon is in trouble. So we are all set.